want you to look to your left and say, having the faith to receive the promises. It says, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. We serve a faithful God. Amen? God is so faithful that he wasn't scared to make promises. In order for one to have their faith capacity increased, they must have enough faith to believe that the one you're having faith in is faithful. He's faithful to his word. He's faithful to his will. He's faithful to his promises. How many of you know being faithful differs from having faith? You can have faith in something without necessarily acting it out at the same time. Right. Faithfulness is an action. Having faith is believing, but faithfulness is an action. Being faithful means, watch this, actively demonstrating your belief through consistent action or loyalty. Okay. I cannot have faith in you if you are not consistent. Through consistent action or loyalty. I cannot have faith in you if you are disloyal. Because if you are disloyal, you will not be consistent. How many of you know we serve a faithful God who is consistent and loyal to his word? Faithfulness gives you a reward, but faith delivers what you hope for unto you. I believe until I see. I believe until it shows up. When I have faith, I act my faith. When I have faith, I speak my faith. I act like I have it when it ain't even here because I believe it's coming because I'm saying it. I keep saying it until it shows up because I believe eventually it's going to happen. But I keep trusting in the one who I am counting on to deliver. If I'm going to believe, I must have trust in the faithful one that I'm believing in for. I must trust that he's consistent and loyal. I must trust that he is a man of his word. God is faithful. He has been faithful. He remains faithful. And he proves his faithfulness by making promises. See, some folk believe promises are made to be broken. And so they'll make a promise knowing they're not going to come through with it. Because they're not afraid of letting you down. Because they really don't care if you trust them or not. But oh my God. The faithful one who's been consistent and loyal through generation after generation after generation, through decades and decades, he remained faithful, consistent, and loyal, ain't scared to make a promise. But do you have the capacity to receive them? Some people say promises are made to be broken, Liz, and the lie detector test determines. That is a lie. When one makes a promise, what he's doing is, watch this, saying you can trust me and count on me. I promise I'm going to show up. I promise I'm going to show up. I'll be there to pick you up. I know you got to be to work at 5:30. I'm going to be there by 5 o'clock. I promise. And then he show up at 5:45 with an excuse. How many of you have ran across some folks who made you some promises and then come through on them, and now you just don't believe nothing they say no more? God is such a man of his word, he can't afford for you not to believe what he says. And so what he does is he makes a promise. What are biblical promises, B? They are declarations from God to humanity that something will or will not happen. Say something is going to take place based upon your word. Promises are binding on the person who makes them. Because I am counting on you to be a man of your word. I'm counting on you to come through on what you said. Anybody ever made a promise to their significant other and then it did not happen and we had a major excuse already prepared? Look, I'm sorry, I ain't gonna do that no more. Knowing you're doing it tomorrow. And when you say, I promise I ain't gonna do that no more, the first thing they tell you is what? Yeah, okay. We'll see. Lies. You said that last time. And most time, folk in the natural will put consequences on you when you don't come through on what you said you was going. Then they start to put the tag on you. And because you did that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, they consider you to be consistent and loyal to that. So promises are binding on the one who makes them. Because somebody is counting on you to come through on what you say. Promises are not only binding, but they are biblically considered sacred. God's promises are sacred and are considered to be rock solid commitments. And so in the natural sense, when somebody makes us a promise, we take it as a rock solid commitment and we hold them to that. Listen, if you don't mean it, don't attach our promise to it. Right. If you don't want to make him lie later, don't say I promise. Because if it don't come from your belly naturally, right, you probably don't intend on. Right. Not only that, promises are sacred. Promises are prophetic. Because they are supposed to be a fulfillment of what is expected. Promises can be made for the present and for the future. How many of you believe today that God is still making promises? Amen. See, when you're in real relationship with him and y'all communicating back and forth, he makes some declarations to you that you can stand on. Yes. And he's consistent and he's loyal. He's a man of his word, so he comes through on them. Now, on the flip side, when you're in relationship with him, it's some things that each one of us has said that didn't show ourselves to be consistent, that made us look disloyal because we told him we was going to do it or not do it. And we either stood on business or didn't stand. But we want him to remain faithful. But our faithfulness to him wavers. Yeah. You said you were going to be on assignment. You said, I'll do it. But now you tired. And so what you told him you would do, you ain't doing because you tired. It's funny to me. Folks don't get tired of going to work and getting paid. But they'll get tired on God in a minute and sit on their hands, but they want him to remain faithful. But if you check out on me, why can't I check out on you? But God, I want more from you, but you ain't giving me all of you. See, one thing about God is he know what he's going to do because he said it and he wasn't afraid to say it. He said, hold me accountable. I know me. Oftentimes, when we start going through crises and situations and trials and work this and work that and people this and people that, the first person get abused and misused is God. The job you asking for, now it's doing you a certain kind of way, you quit on him. But you stay loyal and consistent to them. They put you on schedule, you show up, they tell you what to do, you do it. You stay consistent and loyal to them, but the one who has given you activity of your limb, breath in your body, you worried about the job telling you to cease coming and not worried about him telling you to cease existing. I don't want to get fired. You ain't afraid to die? I don't want them to think I'm lazy. I want my check to remain the same every 2 weeks. You don't think he could cut that? You're looking for a promotion and not knowing because of you, he might shut the whole company down. It's called to notify you we don't need that position anymore. God is still making promises today. Amen? And the reason I say this is because whatever he speaks has to happen. Whatever God says has to happen. Whether you like it or not, whether it benefits you or not, it has to happen. The question is, are we listening to hear what he's saying to us, or are we listening to hear what he's speaking for us because he's loyal to whatever he's saying? And he's been consistent over time. So he's considered to be faithful. He doesn't need faith. We need faith. He needs you to have faith and be faithful. But this journey that we on, this journey that we on, somebody say, it's a test and prove. It's one thing to see or hear what God has done for somebody else, or is doing for someone else, but it's another thing to hear him speak it to you and it happens. When God speaks something to you and then you see it happen, should increase your capacity. But why? Because he said it and you saw it. Because you heard him say it and you saw it happen, you received it. And can't nobody tell you it was nobody else. You know it was nobody but.
Come on.
And that just let me know now. Whatever he say, he gonna stand on it because he's a man of his word. He cannot lie and he cannot fail. He is faithful to what he says. Faithfulness, faithfulness comes from a place of trust and loyalty. Look, I need you to get that in your spirit. Faithfulness comes from a place of trust and loyalty. And so when God says it, he stands on it and he comes through. Now watch this. When you say it, because he lives in you, he expects you. If he is faithful, that means I have the power to be faithful because he lives in me. But if I say it and don't stand on it, well, I ain't gonna do that no more, folks. And then you do it. And you feel like, well, I just was weak in that moment. No. The one who lives in you is faithful. So you have the ability to be faithful. So are you making a choice to be faithful or not? What is it? To be or not to be. We want him to be faithful because he said he's the faithful. And he said, because I live in you, when you say it, I expect you to be loyal to it. I like Hebrews 11:1 because he says now faith. I understand what I did back then, but now. Remember what I did back then, but now. Because God is so faithful, he's so loyal, he's so consistent, no matter what we go through, we should always have now faith. You ought to be able to stand up in the face of your today and say, I got now. Whatever comes your way, you ought to be able to say, I got now. I got now faith. I don't care what's going on. I got now faith. And tomorrow when you show up, I got now faith. Test when you come, I'm believing, I got now. Because I trust the faithful one, I always have faith now. Folk might waver on you. This is a trip. You might even waver on yourself.
Come on.
It's some wishy-washy folks that you connected to. But the one you should be in relationship with is always faithful. We put more trust in folk than we do God. And they done showed you who they are and you didn't. But God showed you who he is, was, and will be. But somehow we find a way not to. We can trust God to be who he said he gonna be, even when we can't trust ourselves to be who we said we are. We can trust God to be who he said he gonna be, Aisha, because he's faithful when we can't even trust ourselves to be who we said we are. We can trust God to be who he said he gonna be, but we can't even be faithful or trust ourselves to be who we said he called us to be.
That's it, Pastor B.
I know God called me. Why you quit? I know God placed me here. Why you leave? I know this is my God-given assignment. Why you ain't on it? We get so schizophrenic in our mind.
Oh, Lord.
You probably confusing God. You're like, wait, I created them in their mother's womb. I know one has a number on their head. I know.
Pull that book up. Who is that? You sure?
Jesus, is that the same person?
Pull that book up.
Well, Pastor said something to me. Pastor said something I ain't like. Your boss said, are you stupid?
Uh-uh.
But you start showing up early. I'm going to show him I ain't stupid. You the first one there and the last one to leave. Who's stupid now? It's hard for folk to be faithful over their God-given assignment because they haven't fully submitted and committed to the faithful one. You saying stuff with your lips, but your heart. I can remember standing under the shade tree back in the day, and they say a pair of lips will say anything. If I'm fully and submitted, then and only then I can be faithful. If I'm fully submitted and committed, then and only then I can be faithful to what he tells me, what he's speaking to, because he's speaking it to himself within me. Raise your hand if you believe God lives in you. We all got our hands up. So when he's speaking to himself. And he's expecting it to be faithful because it's me.
Yes.
But what happens is we humanely let flesh rise up and deny spirit, and we find ourselves doing the opposite. Spirit don't get tired, flesh get tired. Because the spirit never slumbers or sleeps. I can't do that. Bet you can't. Flesh.
Ooh.
If folks start telling you what's really going on, that's your flesh. But that's a major cuss word. You ought to be offended when that's your flesh. All your milk up and say, you fleshly being. Sit your flesh down. Significant others, when you get into the little heat of fellowship, that's your flesh. You need to call your flesh under submission to the Holy Spirit. The rebuttals will be quite silent.
Yeah. You bet not.
If folk really start telling folk what you are adulterer.
Yeah.
Stop saying cheat because they're just using an unfair advantage to get a gain. No. When you step outside, I stepped outside. You are adulterer. See, that hit different.
Yeah.
Pastor, I ain't gonna be able to show up. Your flesh side. Don't lie on the spirit. He never speaks your tongue. I bet it ain't time to stop doing what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because it's getting pleasure.
Yeah.
And steady tricking you.
Yeah.
When I got home, I just wasn't tired no more. Ooh, we've been here too long. Your flesh.
Yeah.
Only then and then only, if you're fully committed and submitted to God, that you can be faithful to him. Because you understand when it don't feel good to the spirit, the flesh, the spirit must be in advance. Yeah. A lot of us miss our next because flesh got in the way. Yeah. The spirit was ready to go, but you just let flesh take control. If I'm going to be able to receive the capacity, in such capacity of what God has for me, that there's always room for more, I got to be faithful. Yeah. See, what you need to do to get your flesh in check so it's submissive to the spirit is always put it in reminder of the faithful one. Yeah. We've got so far away from remembering to only asking God for what we want that we forget his promises that he already made. Come on. And if we remember some of the promises, it'll keep us until what we have not seen becomes visible. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. But if I just hang on to the promises, if I can just hang in the balance of the promises, Minister Alexander, I'll have enough to get me to where the evidence show up.